Good morning, Cardmunity. It's RJ back with another video, so let's get to it. Coming to you face to face today because I'm going to throw out a challenge to all you YouTubers out there. No prize to be given, just a fun little exercise for us all. See who wants to participate, all right? But still, what's important, the starting stuff. Today's random Mike Schmidt item of the day. I have here a Mike Schmidt Beanie Baby Cooperstown collection. There are a number of Beanie Baby bears of various baseball players. I think Schmidt's got like 3 or 4, maybe more. But this is the one I have, keep on my shelf. A random Mike Schmidt item of the day. My random baseball item of the day is a baseball. This is another, in keeping of some of the things I've been showing off this week, kind of little tchotchkes you get given by your kids over the years. So I think maybe my wife got this for me years ago when the kids were little, so that I could have one of the kids do it. So I got a colored baseball, MVP, most valuable player, Major League Dad, the number one dad, and then autographed by your favorite fan, and that was my daughter's signature. That was Ruth. Back when she was little. She is no longer little. She's 24. Turned 24 in a couple weeks. So my random baseball item of the day. We all have those little knickknacks in our collection, don't we, from our kids and our family members, because they know we love baseball. So today's trivia question. In the 1969 World Series, game number 4, 9th inning, Mets pitching, Mets in the field, Baltimore batting. With men on first and third, line drive by Mr. Robinson. Ron Swoboda made an amazing catch. Otherwise, it's likely that both runners would have scored, and the Mets or the Orioles would have taken the lead. Instead, it was a sacrifice fly, and Mr. Robinson scored from third. So Mr. Robinson hit the ball, and Mr. Robinson tagged up at third and scored. Which Robinson did which? In other words, which Robinson hit the ball, and which Robinson tagged and came home to score a run from third base? That is your question. What you're playing for, as always, 3 awesome Hall of Fame cards. From 2019, Allen and Ginter, a Roberto Alomar. An Archives card, Jim Catfish Hunter. And as always, a common collection card, this one of Hall of Fame catcher Roger Bresnan. So 3 awesome cards. If you're interested in acquiring those, all you need to do is shoot me an email with a guess to that question. I will include my email in the description below along with a repeat of that question. You will have today and tomorrow to answer. We will pick a winner on Sunday, all right? Good luck to everybody on that one. So today, what I figured out I wanted to do, I heard a couple people talking about their team's greatest lineup and whatnot, and I thought I want to go a little step further. So I want to challenge you all to create your all-time greatest team from your team. Now, that means in its entire history of the franchise, pick players who played on that team who were the best at their position. Now, there's a couple caveats to this. So, what do I mean by best team? So, I'm talking about the fact that today's rosters contain 26 players. I want you to fill an entire roster of 26 players, all right? How would I want you to do this? I want you to take 2 members, two individuals from each position other than pitcher. That would be 8 positions, therefore 16 players, because you must pick 2, no more than 2, because I want each position to be represented. If you're going to go the outfield, you can switch up right, left, and center at will, but you can have no more than 2 at any of those positions. But everybody else should be an established first, second, third, shortstop, or catcher. And then for the pitchers, you need not do relief pitchers versus starting pitchers. If you wish, you can go all starters, but I would recommend you at least put one obvious closer in the bullpen. So, but you must have 10 pitchers then, because that's all that's left. And then I want to know who the manager of that team will be. Now, a couple caveats on all of this. The managers can be one-year wonders, because in truth, it's hard to find managers who were there on some teams for long. I mean, many teams don't have a manager that they look on fondly who is there forever. It's different with the players, though. Caveat on the player. The player must be a legendary player from your franchise who was a long-term member of your franchise. What do I mean by long-term? I thought hard about this. I really did. I'm limiting. My challenge to you is this player on your team must have played for your team a minimum of 5 seasons. So, for example, the greatest second baseman of all time, perhaps, Joe Morgan, played 1 year with the Phillies. He cannot be on my all-time greatest Phillies list. Roy Halladay. Many people would call Roy Halladay one of the greatest Phillies pitchers of all time. Most people would list them on their Mount Rushmore of Phillies pitchers. Roy Halladay played 4 seasons with the Phillies, many more with the Toronto Blue Jays. Roy Halladay does not qualify for my challenge in front of you. So that is what's in front of you. Every position player must have played. Every player you're going to show off on your greatest team must have been with that franchise for. I lost something here. Where is my other? Oh, I know. Every player you're going to show must have played for your franchise for at least 5 seasons. Now, the manager, again, doesn't have to, but I'm showing off a few managers that all were with the team at least 5 seasons. So my manager, out of all the different managers that manage the Phillies, and some are Hall of Famers, I think the guy who should lead my club would be Charlie Manuel. So Charlie gets my nod as the manager. Now, I put in there 4 other managers to be the coaching staff. So legendary manager Harry Wright, one of the greatest early pioneers in all of baseball, led the Phillies from 1884 through 1893. Gene Mauch, his first managing stint was with the Phillies from 1960 to 68. And although he never, ever won a pennant with any team, he never did. He never won a pennant with any team. But he was still a great manager. Then Danny Ozark, our 1970s manager who took us to 3 straight division pennants. And then lastly, Jim Fregosi. Jim Fregosi, manager of this 93 team. So that is my manager of choice, Charlie Manuel, and his coaching staff. Now to the position players. So I'm going to start out with first base. I'm going to leave catcher and pitchers to the end. I'm going to start out with first base. So first base for the Phillies. Who are the greatest first basemen ever to put on a Phillies uniform? Now, that is a very difficult question. There have been a number of slugging first basemen over the years. Certain names come close to mind, but again, they had to have played at least 5 seasons. And, we didn't have a lot of great teams over the years. So the first one I would choose, and this is my starting first baseman. My starting first baseman would be Pete Rose. Pete played exactly 5 seasons with the Phillies, and he's the kind of guy you want in your leadoff spot, the kind of guy who is going to do anything he can to win a game. His baseball, kudos. His baseball prowess is legendary. His place in the halls of history is set in stone. He was, without a doubt, one of the greatest players of all time, and he gets my starting lot. Second, and again, you can only choose 2 for each position, so there's going to be arguments when this is done. That's why I wanted to leave it at 2. I want to inspire discussion. Dick Allen gets my second spot. Now, there's a lot of people right away are saying, what about Ryan Howard? To be quite honest with you, Dick Allen hit home runs just as far, if not farther, than Ryan Howard. He just didn't hit, and in fact, I think he might have hit many more in his career. But I give my nod to Dick Allen over Ryan Howard at first base. Those are my two first basemen. Pete Rose starting. Second base. Now, second base is a little, people might question. I mean, the current crop of Phillies greatness, you have Bryson Stott. Nobody's going to put him on the Mount Rushmore Phillies stardom. Back in 1950, and I don't think anybody can remember who the second baseman for the Phillies was. In the 1950s, I believe. I can't remember if Granny Hamner was a shortstop or what. I can't remember off the top of my head who the second baseman for the Phillies was in the 50s, but again, he's not a name that sticks. And then in the 70s, in the early 70s, they had a couple different people playing second baseman. Dave Cash was there a couple of years, but Dave Cash isn't the kind of guy I'd think is of an all-time great. And certainly the 80 team had Manny Trio, but Manny Trio wasn't with the team for 5 years. So my starting second baseman, if I had to choose between these two guys, I'm choosing this guy. Napoleon Lajoie played 5 years with the Phillies at the start of his career. He then went to the Athletics. When the Athletics were formed, he jumped ship for a higher contract, and then eventually went to the Cleveland Indians, or the Naps, and that's primarily where he's known. But he did start his career 5 seasons with the Phillies. He's going to be my starter. My relief second baseman probably would be many of the current, maybe people's first choice, because this is the guy they remember. They don't remember that Napoleon Lajoie was on the Phillies for 5 seasons. Most people would go Chase Utley. And, Chase Utley is an awesome, awesome star. I think he's deserving of Hall of Fame considerations. I don't know that he will get there, but I think he is certainly my spare second baseman. So far we've got Pete Rose and Napoleon Lajoie, first and second. All right? Third base. Third base, because I'm going numerical order. Again, I left pitcher last, so third base would be next in position numerical order. There is no dispute who the starting third baseman would be for the Phillies. It would be Mike Schmidt. Thus said, don't have to defend it. The only other really viable option would be Scott Rowland. Scott Rowland obviously played at least 6 or 7 seasons with the Phillies. He would get my nod as Mr. Schmidt's backup, and that's a pretty darn good lineup right there. Similarly, there's an equal no-doubter when you're talking shortstop for the Phillies. Trey Turner is not worthy at this stage of his career of being called a great shortstop in Phillies history. He just is not, especially when you have these two individuals at the top. The starting shortstop for my Phillies all-time team, Jimmy Rollins. No dispute. You cannot argue any other player who played for the Phillies as the greatest shortstop the team ever had. And similarly, the second one would be Larry Bowa. Once again, it is not disputable if you're a Phillies fan. These two individuals are 1 and 2, the greatest Phillies shortstops of all time. Then you go to the outfield. Now, again, outfield is not, you do not have to say the greatest left fielder, center fielder, and right fielder. You just have to show me 3 outfielders. Although I did choose 2 center fielders for the center field position. I just don't know where these other 2 individuals played. So in left field, I'm going to start Sam Thompson. What you'll find is many people who are Phillies fans today, many people who are knowledgeable of the Phillies, have simply forgotten those teams of the 1800s, those stars of the 1800s who were Hall of Famer. Sam Thompson was without a doubt one of the greatest batters of all time. He's got a 331 career average, only 1,900 hits, but he played in an era where they didn't have as many games. So he played 15 seasons. Sam Thompson gets my nod as a starting left fielder, followed closely behind by Billy Hamilton. Billy Hamilton will get me a little bit of speed on the bases too. One of the guys who's like tops in the stolen base charts of all time. So Billy Hamilton gets the nod there. He has a 344 career batting average. I hope you understand what I'm talking about, people. Center fielder, a little bit more clear, I think. I think Richie Ashburn gets the immediate nod as the greatest center fielder that ever played for the Phillies. Not going to talk about other players, except for my second guy, Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux, if you're a Phillies fan, you understand how great Greg Maddux was in the field. So these two guys, Richie Ashburn's my starter. Greg Maddux gets number 2. Then we have right field. And again, I'm not worried about whether these players played right field or center field or whatever. But Ed Delahanty, again, Ed Delahanty is one of those forgotten stars of baseball. And he was an incredible hitter. What is his career about? He's got a 300-something career batting average. 346 career batting average. The Phillies had phenomenal outfielders in the 1800s. Phenomenal. And they're largely forgotten. My next one would be Cy Williams, the first great slugger in Phillies history. He had 251 total career hits. He once hit 41 home runs for the Phillies, though. That was back in 1923. So Cy Williams gets my last nod as an outfielder. Those are my position players, other than catcher and pitcher. So catcher was a very difficult one. There are several outstanding Phillies catchers that exist. In fact, right now we have a guy who someday may be considered the greatest Phillies catcher. At this moment in time, I'm not going to give him the nod. He's not in my list here. But my starter, if I'm going to start somebody on the Phillies for the greatest catcher, it's going to be Darren Daulton. Now, some people might say Bob Boone. Bob Boone was a good catcher, but Darren Daulton had more. Darren Daulton, what he had, one of the things that was great about Darren Daulton is his ability to lead a staff. He was a clubhouse leader. He had a little bit of pop, had a couple years where he hit 20 home runs, over 100 RBIs in 2 seasons, which is rare for a catcher. Darren Daulton had a lot going for him, especially his ability to work with pitchers. And in that same light, my second catcher to make my team, my reserve catcher, is Carlos Ruiz. Again, I think a lot of people would say, what about Bob Boone? Some people might even have enough knowledge to say, what about Jack Clements in the very early days of the Phillies back in the 1880s? Jack Clements was a great, great catcher. Hall of Fame worthy at the time. But Chooch gives me the same thing Daulton gives me. Respect of his pitchers. The pitchers who Chooch caught loved the man. They trusted him implicitly. He didn't have great power, or he wasn't an awesome offensive threat. He was good enough to be a player. But it was his command of the pitching staff that gets him my secondary nod. Because Daulton was a little bit of a better hitter, that's why he gets my start. Then I have 10 pitchers. Again, you have to have 10 pitchers. I would prefer if one of them was a clear closer, but it is not required at all because it's hard enough to find 10 great pitchers. But I do have 10 great pitchers of the Phillies. So my starter, if I'm going to start one game for the Phillies, who am I going to put in there? Now, there's a lot of people who are going to pick a name and say it should be this guy. A lot of people are going to yell at me for putting a 5-year window on this and telling me that Roy Halladay can't be on my team, but that's the rule. But the no-brainer, Steve Carlton. Steve Carlton is starting a game for me. The one game I got to win. I'm picking Steve Carlton. Second, very close behind. This is the other guy I would have started, but I'm going with lefty, Grover Cleveland Alexander. He would have been my second choice. He only played for the Phillies for a while. He ended up jumping to the Cubs and then the Cardinals eventually, but he did play 6 seasons in Philadelphia. Another Hall of Famer. A lot of Hall of Famers for the Phillies and pitchers. I mean, that's why I say you can't take anybody. So like Pedro Martinez played half a season for the Phillies. You can't throw Pedro Martinez on the Phillies and say he was part of an all-time great Phillies lineup. Just can't be done. Robin Roberts, another great Phillies pitcher, legendary. Don't need to say much more than that. Believe it or not, ahead of a couple other Hall of Famers, my next pitcher would be Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling was a postseason dominator. Everybody knows the stories about Curt. I don't need to go into much more detail than that, but his performance in the postseason was legendary, well deserving of being a member of an all-time great Phillies team. Likewise with Jim Bunning. Second half of his career was primarily with Philadelphia, although he did play briefly with a couple other teams. Hall of Famer Epirixie. People forgot Epirixie was on the Phillies before he went to the Reds. Frankly, a lot of people forgot the name Epirixie as a pitcher, but he played 7 seasons with the Phillies and then finished out with about 12 seasons in the Reds organization. But Epirixie is on my staff of pitchers. The one ultra-modern pitcher I have, Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels was a dominant force in the pitching world for many years. He's not going to get the Hall of Fame. Too many injuries, too many mediocre seasons. But Cole Hamels is on my staff, along with another great starter, former Cy Young Award winner, Jim Lonborg. Got his OPG card here, but Jim Lonborg's another great Phillies pitcher of old. Then I got 2 relievers. One is just a flat-out reliever, and the other is a closer. The closer will be obvious. I couldn't find a decent closer. Mitch Williams, I don't trust Mitch Williams to be on a great team. Jose Mesa, Brad Lidge, But this guy, Ryan Madsen, is the guy you trusted. When Ryan Madsen came in, the bridge to Lidge, when he came into a game, you really, really felt it was over. He was going to do the job and shut him down. That's the kind of relief pitcher I want. And, of course, my closer for the Phillies would be Tug McGraw. So that is my all-time Phillies team. Now, to summarize, the manager is Charlie Manuel. All right? My starting first baseman, there is my cards. I'm trying to find my card. Trying to find my Pete Rose card. So my starting first baseman, go. Pete Rose is my starting first baseman. Napoleon Lajoie is my starting second baseman. Mike Schmidt is my starting third baseman. Jimmy Rollins is my starting shortstop. Out in the outfield, I'm going to have Sam Thompson. I'm going to have Richie Ashburn. And I'm going to have Ed Delahanty. And my starting catcher is going to be Darren Daulton. And the guy who toes the rubber will be Steve Carlton. Would love to hear you go through something like that for your favorite team. Would love to see a full roster of players. You know, again, with the position players, one starter and one spare. That's it. That gives you 16 players. Then 10 pitchers. That's it. And if you want to throw manager card and some coaching staff in there, I'd love to see it. That's not required. This is all just for fun. I'm not giving away any prizes. I just want to throw this out for you. You'll stew on it over the weekend. Through the rest of the November, shoot me an email. My email's in the description below. Make a video of your own and post it out there for everybody to see. Just interested in seeing if this gets any traction. And in the end, I'd like you to send it to me sometime probably in the early new year. What I will do is I will put a video together where I compile a list of each team that was represented. What I want to do is showcase a video. Maybe we'll do a live stream with a couple of YouTubers, and we'll go through the various teams and say, okay, this is what the Cardmunity said about this team or that team. Maybe there's other people out there who are fans of the Phillies who are going to dispute me and have their own lineup. That's what I want. I want a discussion about the all-time greatest players on the franchise that you're a fan of the most. Would love if you did what I did, was show a bunch of cards off just to show the players, and they don't even have to be good cards. I didn't even bother mentioning who the players were as I was, what the cards were as I was showing it, but I would love to see cards as you showed these. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you run with this idea. I'm looking forward to seeing if there are any videos posted or how many people jump on board with this. Really want to see that. Please don't forget the trivia question of today, as well as the ones from Wednesday and Friday, because we will have our trivia recap on Sunday. Hope you can stop back for that, and then we'll send out some prizes. All right? Thanks for watching. Take care.